Welcome to the Founder Podcast. I'm Magnus Olson and I'm joined today by my co-hosts Justin Hodges and Big Benny Ma. Welcome, boys.
Thanks, mate. How are you?
Mate, very well.
Thanks, mate, for having us.
All right, today we got a very special guest, Samantha Barnett, founder of Nutrition with Sammy. Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah. Welcome,
Thank
Sammy.
you. Thank you for having me.
All right, can you tell us what initially inspired you to start your own business? And do you actually have an aha moment when you knew you just had to turn your passion into a business?
Well, my business is a very personal story. I was actually diagnosed with panic disorder at the age of 12. So I was having 10 to 20 panic attacks a day. And lifelong journey, I discovered that nutrition was very, very powerful. And so I ended up creating that into a business. And I love to entertain, so I've switched it into entertaining kids. And yeah, it's lots of fun now. Yeah.
Fantastic. Do you know what's been your biggest influence when you were growing up?
Not so much a who, but a what. So for me, when I had panic disorder as a kid, I was very alone and I thought I was dying. And so for me, looking back, this thought of dying, so I'm going to say death. I was so terrified of dying that I did everything in my path to discover how the human body worked and everything that goes with that. And that's kind of been my biggest influence to where I am today. It sounds a bit morbid, but it's the truth.
Hey, Sammy, is there any business mentors that you had along the way to help you to get to where you are?
I actually, when I started opening up my clinic, I fell in love with Dr. Libby Weaver. She's fantastic. And I loved the way that she modeled her business. But I also have invested in business coaches and mentors, but I found that a lot of the time people already know the things that they need to do. They just need sort of verification on they're going the right way. And now my husband's built and I've built a really great construction business. And so with what I'm doing now, he's my go-to business mentor. I go to him for all of the things that I need and all the answers that I need, questions.
Nice.
I got a background in construction, so I'm sure I can very much relate to your husband.
I'm very emotional with my responses. He's no BS. He's straight to the point and he cuts through all the stuff that stops me, basically.
Yeah, I love it.
And like when you were sort of conceptualizing this business idea, which is obviously born out of passion and personal experience, what were the first steps you took? And I suppose, how did you validate to yourself that you were heading in the right direction?
Yeah, so I was heading in the wrong direction for a long time. I had a really busy clinic and I kind of had a bit of a breakdown and I realized I wasn't having fun. I've got a background in entertainment. And so for me, I had a complete breakdown throughout my podcast, throughout my business, a lot of guilt. And I got up on a stage with a Pikachu outfit and started teaching nutrition. And I just was terrified of doing that. And all of a sudden, everybody loved what I was doing. Nobody else was doing it. And the kids were actually absorbing the information and taking it on board. So for me, that was a huge validation. And now I came second overall in Jamie Oliver's Food Hero of the Year award, which he's about to announce the winner. I know. And so for him to recognize that, like we had on the panel, it was like the Wiggles and everything. So for them to actually say what I'm doing is brilliant is just more of a drive and more validation to keep on going. Yeah.
Absolutely love it. What were some of the biggest challenges that you faced in those early years getting your business off the ground?
The biggest challenge would be my own self-doubt, fears. Like quite often people say to me, I've got some very intelligent people in my life and they say that the greatest minds are also the most troubled minds. And as you grow and you're up leveling, your body has to catch up with that. And quite often we can become imposter syndrome and all the things that get in the way, we get in our own way. So that's been the biggest challenge for me, to just call myself out on my own BS and just keep driving.
What about establishing yourself in the market brand? Like obviously there's a lot of competitors out there, but how do you make sure that yours is out there continuously getting looked at, getting spoken about and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I found not many people are doing what I'm doing, and my story is so personal that I'm constantly out there being different, being unique, and being seen. And I bring an energy to a room that people want. And I've had a lot of people say to me, I don't care what you're selling, I want whatever you have because I want to feel and be a part of that energy. So for me, that's kind of what differentiates me in the marketplace. I am very self-aware, and I love to make people self-aware too. So cutting through all the BS when it comes to nutrition.
So in terms of like a day in your business, you know, a typical day, walk us through what that looks like.
Yeah, so what I do, I mean, obviously being sports people, some of you yourselves and interviewing that, having energy is key for everything that I do. I cannot get up on a stage and get kids interested in what I'm doing without having that energy. So for me, I actually get energy from movement. So I get up at 4 a.m. and I go straight to the gym and I exercise, and then I come home and I walk my dog out in nature and just, I don't take any like podcasts or anything, and I just listen to the birds and reconnect with nature, so to speak, and reflect on the day to see, you know, the day before to see where my next day is going to go. And then I have this wonderful, I don't know if you can see, a journal which actually has from 5 a.m. till 8 o'clock at night, and I write everything on every hour, what I'm doing. I even block out time for just to chill. Every day that I do stuff is different. Like every day I wake up is different for me, which I love. I love variety, and that's how I do it with a manual that I follow every day. Sounds a bit tedious, but it works.
It's fantastic, Sammy, and I'm finding your energy is contagious. So that is absolutely fantastic, and I couldn't agree more. And it's heard a saying recently that it's not tell me, it's show me. And you can really see that. So people, obviously, most people out there don't have that same level of energy, and you're clearly bringing that to life through food and through your own example. So that's awesome. What about strategies? What's been most effective for you when you're trying to grow your business?
Yeah, so for me, I found when I've done a lot of networking, I've worked in with a lot of businesses, I've grown a lot of business in my past, and I've found this business is doing really, really well because I'm being 100% myself. I am telling people when I'm eating KFC, I'm not hiding it all. I'm just being 100% real and connecting with my audience, and people are loving that.
Yep.
And I don't think enough people do that. And so for me, that's been the most effective. I'm building really good rapport with my following, and people like that. They're sick of the robotic, quick chat GPT responses. They want real people. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I think obviously with the social media these days and how powerful it is, what platforms have you used and what sort of content have you used online?
Yeah, so when I started my previous business, I spent a lot of my time and effort on social media trying to grow, trying to become an influencer and build my following. And I felt like I wasn't really getting anywhere. And when I had my clinic, I actually had a lot of people come in who had hundreds and thousands of followers, but they weren't doing anything with it. And there were people that had like a couple hundred followers, and they had 7-figure, turnover businesses. And I thought, what can I do with social media here? So for me, this time around, it's more of a business profile. I find most people find me through word of mouth, and it's like, oh, do you know Sammy? Or the council find me. I'm all through the councils at the moment. People will mention my name, and then they'll go to my social media, and then they'll follow me. They're not looking me up, so to speak, by accident. It's more of a, this is who I am, follow me. So I'm organically growing it at the moment. And I don't know if it has that much of an impact on my business at this stage.
You mentioned councils. Can you elaborate on that a little bit for our listeners?
Yeah, definitely. So I was being loud, getting seen, and someone referred me to Ipswich City Council, and they sponsor me to run free events through community, which is great. And then they took me to the Southeast Queensland board because with nutrition, it's really hard to get a high turnover for kids, and they were only getting like 30% full with the stuff they were doing. They're selling out within a couple of hours with what I'm doing, and they're getting a 95% turnover. So they took me to the Southeast Queensland board, and now Logan City Council and Brisbane City Council have got wind of me, and they want to take me to the next level. It's all happening so rapidly. I'm trying to keep myself grounded where I can.
Awesome.
So what's one piece of software or tech, or however you want to frame it, that you couldn't live without? Like, what's a day look like where if you didn't have that piece of technology, you'd really, really struggle to do your job?
Look, to be 100% honest with you, I'm not a huge fan of technology. I find a lot of the time it lets me down, and we had a perfect example of that just before we did this podcast. And I had a look at some of the questions you sent before I came here, and this one I really thought on, and I thought, you know what? The best piece of technology that we have, which we take for granted, is our brain. It is like a computer, our brain. It is better than any software tech out there. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love ChatGPT. It's great. But I think people forget how awesome we can be at problem solving, multitasking, learning. The emotions, I find I connect better with emotions. And you can't do that with technology. I've spent many, many years building up my brain and body connection, and I could not live without my brain. And I think people need to rely less on robots and start being real again and using this incredible machine that we have in our heads, right?
I could not agree more. But that little mind inside our head, that can create at times some misconceptions. What are the more common ones that you found with people through the work that you're doing?
Oh, there's so many misconceptions with nutrition. I feel like I'm constantly correcting people, and I don't want to be that person. But one of the biggest messages that I promote in my workshop is you are not what you eat. And people can't understand that. But when I explain to them that I did a fitness comp, I was eating extremely well. I took out a trophy on stage, but I had liver failure and my thyroid wasn't working. My whole body was shutting down. Even though I was eating extremely well and I was exercising, I wasn't slowing down. And all of the food I was putting in my body, I wasn't actually absorbing any of it. Okay. So you're not what you eat, you're what you're absorbing. And if you're running around stressed, thinking and worrying about everything, you're actually not absorbing the nutrients that you're putting in your body. So that was the biggest misconception about nutrition that I can think of. Plenty of others.
What about trends with nutrition? How do you stay updated with that, and how do you integrate them into your business?
I actually don't do trends. I don't like trends. I find many of them are very misleading and wrong, and I believe in going back to basics when it comes to nutrition. Nutrition's become completely overcomplicated and fear-driven, and a lot of the influencers out there are just taking people for a drive, and people are spending money and investing on things when they're not, just simply stopping, slowing down and chewing their food. And that's like the key thing for most people that come into my clinic. I'm like, are you slowing down when you eat? And they're like, no, I'm in a rush and I eat within like 30 seconds. And I'm like, well, you need to be chewing your food up to 32 times. Are you doing that? And they're like, no, don't have time for that. So yeah, I don't fall for trends. I find quite often I will see trends and I will call them out on the BS that it is. Yeah.
For any young entrepreneurs out there who listen to this podcast and they're potentially looking at working in the wellness space, or they, do work in the wellness space, what would be some, what would be your, let's say, your top 3 pieces of advice that you could give?
Yeah, okay. So I would say focus on basics and keep it simple. People are already overcomplicating things. So when they come into your space, they want to just know the basics. Like if you give them too much, they're already in their head. So keeping it simple is important. The second thing I would say is to build trust and authentic connections. When you're going to a wellness space as a person, you want to feel safe and you want to feel like there's space for you to be able to do some deep healing. And quite often you walk into a room and it can be quite superficial conversations and quick sales. So definitely looking at that. People need to relax. And the last one would probably be to embrace flexibility and adapt to every client that you see, because we're all in different spaces. So one program isn't going to fit everyone, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Sam, just want to go back to that last sort of statement that you said about chewing your food about 32 times. Like why is that important? Like, does that help to break down the food better? Or like, I'm a big eater. I like to eat fast. I don't count my chews. Otherwise, I'm very compulsive. Like, if I get into a rhythm or get into a routine, that's how I'll go forever. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. So, yeah, I totally get it. So when you're chewing your food, your body's releasing saliva, which has digestive enzymes in it. And as you chew, you're switching on all of the digestive process in your body. Your brain's saying there's food coming down. And if you swallow that too quickly and you haven't chewed it up enough, your stomach acid's not going to be ready to break it down. There's not going to be enough digestive enzymes floating around to break it down. And so you don't chew up to 32 times with all foods, but for meat, for example, things that are a little bit harder to chew. So you're not going to chew a banana for 32 times. That would be a bit weird. And it'd probably get pasty.
Just to elaborate on that a little bit further. So some people chew gum. Is that so? If you're chewing gum, what benefit or is it a negative benefit to chewing gum? Where you're obviously.
I actually have heard that. Yeah. So chewing gum can actually stimulate stomach acid production as well because it thinks there's food coming. But chewing gum all day long is probably not a good thing because your digestive system needs a break to be able to sweep everything out. So if it thinks it's constantly eating, it's probably not a good thing.
Yeah. What about hydration? What are your comments on hydration? How much water should we all be drinking? Do you find people actually drink enough water today?
Yeah, I find everybody's different. It really depends on your setting. So I know, for example, when I go on a plane, I get extremely dehydrated. When I'm working in aircon, I get dehydrated. I often tell people to sort of start with your 8 glasses of water a day. Don't force it because you can overhydrate yourself.
Yep.
And as you're drinking water, you can actually flush out electrolytes that your body needs, but making sure you're not under dehydrated. So really underhydrated. Really listening to your body is really key because someone like myself probably wouldn't need as much hydration as Justin, for example, like with your boxing and all the things that you do, you would need to hydrate your body more, whereas I'm just sort of sitting here doing my thing.
Actually, that's a great point, Justin. Alcohol. What are your thoughts on alcohol? It's
that
obviously
dehydrates
not something
you.
that's nutritious, but
it does pass the test when you do a hydration test. I've proved it before.
There you go. There you go. I find I often say to people when they're eating food, maybe don't eat water while you're eating food because it actually it makes your stomach acid less acidy, if that's even the way. I'm so used to talking to kids. I'm talking in kid form. And I know, right?
We're no
and
different.
then when you have alcohol, it doesn't have the same effect on your stomach acid. So you can actually drink alcohol when you're eating food and it doesn't really impact on your digestion. But alcohol does kill a lot of things in your gut that are important. So as for hydration, I get really dehydrated when I drink alcohol. So not for me, especially when I'm in a spa drinking champagne. Don't do that.
I don't drink.
All right, just to change it up slightly, if we're just trying to give some advice to a young entrepreneur out there who's just going to start their own business, what skills or attributes do you think is most important for them to be able to succeed?
Ooh, I did think on this one. I find which ones? Probably consistency. I actually put a post up about this the other day. Like I heard an interesting comment where they said actions speak louder than words. But consistency is key. It overwrites anything. So if you're an entrepreneur, like just simply doing things is one thing. You need to get a flow on and just be consistent because that's where you notice the difference in your business. One of the things that I'm working on and I'm finding is very important when running a business is being assertive. I was born a people pleaser. My mum raised me as a people pleaser. I think a lot of women are people pleasers. And it's extremely hard when you become all of a sudden the boss lady and you have to tell people what to do, or your time is consumed with your mission and your goals. All of a sudden, those people that you were rescuing all the time, they're holding on to you, and all of a sudden you have to gently let them go, and that's extremely hard, giving up that time.
Yeah, you got any tips? So, I completely agree. There's a lot of people out there in that people pleasing space. What have you got any strategy, or what have you done to try and help that?
Yeah, so I realized that people pleasing is actually extremely selfish, and it comes back to wanting to be liked and being seen and validated by those around you. And we manipulate people into liking us. So we manipulate situations and constantly change and help everyone around us so that we look good. And so for me, I had to figure out why I was doing that. It was the not good enough syndrome. And so I started working on ways that I could validate myself and love myself. And it was quite an interesting journey to go down. But I got there, and I think finding out who you are and building that special connection and bond with yourself, time to yourself, to realize who you are and what you want and what you love, and knowing that you can give that to yourself a lot of the time. So
Yeah, love it.
I'm going to go a bit rogue. Yeah. Obviously, I'm a big faster. Like I try and stick to eating from lunchtime to 8 o'clock, and I try not to go past that or inside of that. Obviously, because I put on weight pretty quickly when I'm on the road, and I like the hot boxes and all that type of stuff. But is that an actual thing? Like, yeah, I hear different things all the time about fasting and how it can make you lose weight or how it can improve. Like, can you elaborate a little bit for me?
Yeah,
because I'm sort of stuck in if it works or it doesn't work.
Every single person is different, and this is what I've learned. There's like 6 different body types, but I know a lot of the research with fasting is done on men, and it's really good research. If your body allows you to do it and it seems to work for you, then definitely, by all means, you're allowing your body to sweep out all the gross stuff, and everything sort of recalibrates in your body and you feel really good. Whereas someone like me, I can't fast. A lot of women struggle with fasting because of our hormones. It raises cortisol in our body. If you're extremely stressed all the time, I wouldn't recommend fasting though, because you're telling your brain that you're not getting any food, and that can be quite stressful for the body that's already under stress. So everybody's different, really.
All right. Can you walk us through some of the steps that you take to build, obviously, relationships with your client, and how important is that to you?
Look, like I was saying before, I build relationships. I do go on my social media in my stories, and I am completely honest with what I'm doing, where I'm going. I'm myself. Can I swear on this podcast?
Sure, do what you want.
I fuck up. I fuck up a lot, and I share that with people following me, and I own it. I don't blame anyone else. I blame myself when I do things, and I'm real, and people relate to that. Like if I'm in the car and I don't want to go inside because my teenage boys are fighting, I will sit in the car and I will record myself saying, does anyone else sit in the car and just sit here and breathe for 5 minutes before they walk into the house? Because I'm a human being, right? I'm normal, and people relate to that. So that's how I sort of, I love the freedom to just be myself. My previous business, I tried 100% to be a people pleaser and get people to like me. And now I'm like, take it or leave it. This is who I am. And people like that.
Oh, I absolutely love it. I think it's so important that you just be 100% unapologetically yourself.
Yeah, and I guess to wrap up, before we get to Magnus's favourite part of the show, have you developed any strategies or things you can share with our guests around processing and dealing with negative feedback, or people that want to be naysayers about your business, your brand, or what you do, and just any tips for our guests today?
Yeah, so I used to take criticism and feedback, negative feedback, so personally. I would sit on it and stew on it for weeks, and it would consume my every thought. Isn't that insane? That's when you first start out. And as I'm growing, I find the negative comments very welcoming now, because they're, sometimes calling me up on things that I don't notice. And so I actually take what I can and I leave the rest. If it's hurtful and they're personally attacking me and not the way that I'm running my business, I continue to tell myself it's often a reflection of themselves and what's going on their life and not mine. And I reply with compassion and respond with kindness, because quite often people spit chips at you when they're jealous or they want what you have. And yeah.
Great answer. Thanks for that.
Fantastic. All right. So we're going to now jump into the quick fire questions. Are you ready?
Oh, look out.
Sure.
Your favourite food?
Lemon meringue pie.
How do you relax?
I read my book on my back deck with a cup of tea, my dog, and the breeze blowing and the birds chirping.
What's your go-to healthy snack?
Ooh, boiled eggs.
Best book that you've read this year?
Oh, I used to read a lot of nonfiction. I still do, but I actually discovered some fiction books to escape reality, and I found the Seven Sisters series, and I absolutely loved it. Yeah.
Fantastic. You touched on this before, but morning routine.
Prepping the night before is key, so your morning routine works. But gym, dog, brekkie, I don't look at my socials or my emails because then all of a sudden I'm like, so I stay away from that. I connect with my kiddos if they're home, and then that's sort of where I go.
I love that. I just got to say how important it is to the night before. So you can't win your morning
Yes.
if you don't win the night before. So very, very great advice.
Exactly. And I was just going to say, do what works for you too, because when I first started doing my morning routine, I was meditating, I was doing the cold showers, I was doing my affirmations, and it wasn't working for me.
Yep.
So do what works for you.
So if you weren't in nutrition, Sammy, what would you be doing?
I would be acting and entertaining. I actually have a background. I was a clown and I've done some acting. But funnily enough, when I shut down my clinic, I now get to dress up and act and entertain while I'm teaching nutrition now. How good is that?
You got the best
Combine
of both
the
worlds.
Nice.
Yeah.
Your biggest pet peeve in the wellness industry?
The biggest one, misinformation. It is so dangerous, and there's so much noise out there with quick fixes, and I have them come into my clinic with organs failing, with things that have been inserted in their body busting, and
Your
not
dream vacation destination?
anywhere with my kids and my hubby. To be honest, when I said I was led by death, worried about dying, I actually haven't done much travel, and now that I'm at peace with that and it's not my top value anymore, I'm about to travel the world and see things. So I'm more of a warm climate person, so feel free to throw any ideas of where I should go.
One word that your mum would use to describe you?
Ooh, brave. I'm doing a lot of things that she wasn't brave enough to do, so.
Oh, fantastic.
Well done. Well done.
Favorite podcast besides this one?
I used to listen to podcasts all the time, but I had information overload. That's a thing, right, where you just want to keep learning. But I'm a big fan of the Huberman Lab. I love science and practical advice, so big fan of that one as well.
No, I love him as well. What's the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
For me, it would be find the magic in the mundane. We're always trying to go on a holiday and escape our everyday jobs. What if you found magic every day in what you're doing and appreciate, so you could be present, you know what I mean? Like enjoy the feel of the bubbles from doing the dishes, or sounds woo-woo, but I believe that. I do.
No, very true. If you could have coffee with any entrepreneur out there, who would that be?
It would be Dr. Libby Weaver. Like I said, she was a big mentor for me and incredible lady. Her approach has aligned so much with my values, and I think we would have a really, really great time chatting about life and health topics.
So important to be aligned with your values. What are you currently working on to improve about yourself?
My assertiveness. We've got people pleaser at the heart, at the core, and you're constantly learning skills to stop being rescuing to everyone. I mean, you can be compassionate, but don't let it consume you. Delegation as well. Delegation's key to growing your business.
Your favourite motivational quote?
We are what we believe.
What's your secret superpower?
Anxiety. I love having anxiety now. I used to hate it, but it's actually my superpower because I can sense how others are feeling, and it's the quickest way that I can tell my body is out of balance or something's not right.
What's your go-to workout activity?
it constantly changes, but at the moment I'm really enjoying BFT, the gym. So wake up, 90s R&B rap and
Nice.
lifting weights. Great.
What's next on your bucket list?
I am in business. I'm writing a book which will get published in June. Really excited. It'll be my story with panic disorder from being a kid born with it to creating businesses and life. But in personal, going to the snow. I've never seen the snow before.
You'll thoroughly enjoy it. Last question. What's the most valuable piece of nutritional advice you could give to our listeners?
So when people think of nutrition, they think food, but I'm going to tell you that the biggest advice that I can give you is to slow down and breathe before you eat a meal, because you're telling your body it's safe to digest the food and it's going to switch on and everything in your digestive system is going to work. So sometimes it's not about what we're eating, but switching on our digestive system. So everybody needs to breathe and really, truly breathe, like deep breathe.
And chew 32 times.
And chew 32 times. You're going to think of me every time you chew your meal now, aren't you?
I'm going to hotbox soon.
Thank you very much for your time, Sammy. Absolutely love your energy and all of your insights. Been a very, very valuable conversation. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Sammy.
Thanks,
No
Sammy.
worries. Thank you.